Yo, what's good? So yesterday I asked my Instagram story what kind of video I'd like to see, and I thought this was a great idea and it would help people understand what kind of trades I'm more likely to up my lot sizes on or go for high risk rewards on. So I found this setup on a very commonly traded Forex pair and I'm gonna go through it. So this example is on AUD. I love trading this pair for supply and demand. It frequently respects my zones and yeah, it's just amazing. Now I'm going to start off in the higher time frames. If you've watched me before, then you know I'm a scalper. I take my trades on the 5 minute and the 15 minute. However, we all know the higher time frames move the market and they always provide a great directional bias so we can get a good confluence on whether we're buying or selling. Now in the 4 hour here, we can clearly see we're in an uptrend. We're above the 200 EMA. We've just broken 1, 2 and 3 structures here. You can't really deny that we're in an uptrend. But moving down to the 1 hour, we've left this demand zone right here. Now we do have some gaps below. However, we don't know whether it's going to fill that now or later. We just trade off reactions at the zone. So moving a few candles forward, we can see that we hit the zone with a fat exhaustion candle. Now this is the kind of rejection we love to see, a wick rejection. We don't close in the zone. Now closing in the zone isn't a complete deal breaker for me. However, it's an amazing confluence when we just get this wick rejection like this. So that's already a beautiful confluence. The price is most likely going to go upwards. Now moving down to the 30 minute, we can clearly see that we're in a high probability 30 minute demand zone. Now I'll remove this 1 hour zone real quick. Now if you don't know how I draw my supply and demand zones, I've got a video on it. Soon I'll probably make a separate video on high probability and low probability setups because I get asked questions on that a lot. But basically a high probability setup is one that has a gap directly attached to the zone, a fair value gap that is. So we can clearly see this entire fair value gap reaches the zone. And yeah, we love to see them. But yeah, that's just another confluence that we're also in a 30 minute zone. Now we can even move down to the 15 minute and see this is a low probability 15 minute zone. However, that's still an amazing confluence. We're still giving wick rejections off all these zones. And in both the 30 minute and the 15 minute, we're also uptrending. You can clearly see we're above the 200 EMA. And even though we went below it for a second, we haven't completely shot below it. So I still think that we're trending upwards. And finally, moving down to the 5 minute, we can see this beautiful candle that rejected all these zones beautifully. And if we move a few candles ahead, we can see a lot of rejections from the area. And we left behind this high probability demand zone right here. Now this also has confluence of the 15 minute because this candle is also perfectly in the 15 minute as well as the EMA being right here. So if we get a rejection, just like that, we are rejecting not only off this demand zone in the 5 minute and the 15 minute, but also off the 200 EMA. Now, if you don't know, rejecting off the 200 EMA is often a great confluence because it frequently does it and it will just blow up in the other direction. So we love to see that. And what else we love to see is this beautiful rejection right here. Once again, we never close inside the zone and instead we got this beautiful blue candle right here. Now the entry is up to who's trading. However, for me, I would very likely take an aggressive entry on the setup just due to how many confluences I'm seeing. Also, break of candle entry, which is my usual entry model, is quite high up, so I'd likely be taking an aggressive entry around here. So let's just simulate if we were to. Actually, you know what? Let's be less generous and just say we got in at the close of the candle. Now, there are a lot of places to target, so a 1-to-1 would get hit, damn, pretty quickly. And then depending on what kind of risk reward you like getting, you could target these gaps here, or you could go into the 1 hour. We can see there's a fair value gap up here. You can target fill in all these gaps, or you could even target the liquidity up here. Now we can see there's a lot of liquidity up here. Price has been kind of rejecting this area quite a lot, resulting in a lot of wicks, and it's quite likely that price will go above here or at least match it. Now moving back into the 5 minute, we can see price clearly just shot upwards from the 1 hour demand zone, as well as all these other confluences we've got going on. Now TP1 already would have been hit. This is already a 1-to-2. If you targeted the 1 hour fair value gap, easily hit. And if you target the liquidity, also hit. Now obviously I knew the result of this, so I guess it's a bit unfair to say that. However, there's so many reasons you could have gone for a high risk reward on this trade. For example, if you know how the 13 EMA works, you could trade off that as well. You can see we're consistently rejecting the 13 EMA, and if you wanted to take your exit once it closes below it, we then do so just here, and you could have easily gotten a 1-to-4. Now, I'm not saying I definitely would have gone for a 1-to-4, 1-to-5, 1-to-6 on this, because I don't know what I would have done unless I was in this situation, because I just found this back testing. However, if you have the discipline and the knowledge, you could definitely take this up for a massive risk reward, especially if you got an even more aggressive than this. But yeah, this is definitely a setup that I'd load up my lots on, because literally everything lined up. You literally can't have any complaints about the setup. But yeah, this is just an example of a setup that has lots of higher time frame confluence, as well as the 5 minute and 15 minute just giving a perfect entry. Alright, so I thought that whilst I'm here, I should just share with you my favourite 5-minute setup. So this has no high time frame confluence. This is just the type of setup that I'd take just based on the 5-minute looking beautiful. Now, this may not look like anything special, but this is a trade on NAS 100 after the New York Stock Exchange Open. And literally all I'm seeing here is we're above the 200 EMA. That instantly puts me on bias of buys because it means we're trending upwards. I mean, you can pretty easily see that anyway, but the 200 EMA is just a really nice confluence for me. It's the only indicator I use. And if I'm looking for buys, I want to be above the 200 EMA. If I'm looking for sells, I want to be below the 200 EMA. That's literally all it is. And on top of that, I always need a break of structure in my setups. So right here, we've got a clear break of structure. We've been breaking structure, just very minor structure down here, just constantly. Another minor break of structure here. You can see we're consistently breaking structure. However, I like to see one major break where you can clearly see that we're still on an uptrend. And then let's go a few candles ahead. We can see this beautiful rejection, literally nothing to complain about here. And next, we see this small candle, which for me, I love this. Because like I said, my entry model is break of candle entry, which means I will only enter most of the time when it breaks the previous candle. So in this case, if it breaks this blue candle, I would enter here. And let's go ahead. It broke that candle. So I get my entry just here. Stop loss just below the wick. And yeah, you can go for whatever. There's not really too much to target. Maybe just this gap, which has already been filled. But yeah, that's literally my ideal 5-minute time frame setup that has no high time frame confluence. I would take this any day. The setup before was like perfect. But if I'm taking just a 5-minute setup, I need to be above the 200 EMA. I need a break of structure, and what's ideal is a nice wick rejection like this. And yeah, it's beautiful. Alright, so I feel like I went through those pretty quickly, so I'm going to show one more example. This one, once again, has high time frame confluence. I'm going to go for it a bit slower this time. So first things first, we're below the 200 EMA. You don't want to be trading towards the EMA typically, because that means you're trading counter trend. You can also see that we are breaking lots of structure to the downside, so that's another reason that we want to be selling rather than buying. And unfortunately, this higher time frame setup doesn't have a major break of structure. Instead, we just broke these minor swings here. That's enough for me to want to go into the 5-minute and look for a 5-minute supply setup. So with this setup, I wouldn't consider it a 10 out of 10 like perfect setup, but it's still very nice. And I just want to show you more high time frame confluence setups. And yeah, so this is why it's not 10 out of 10. So we reject once, then we reject twice, 3 times, and usually you'd want to be off by now. You'd want to be moving downwards. You wouldn't want to still be consolidating around the zone. And we actually come into it one more time, which if we scale down to the 5-minute, we can see an entire setup has happened within that hour. It's a very obvious 5-minute supply. This is low probability, there is no gap in the zone, and we are trading towards the EMA. This will happen a lot with higher time frame setups, as in you'll scale down to the 5-minute and it will be counter trend. But for me, these high time frame confluences are enough for me to be okay with that. Yeah, this 5-minute is, like I said, clean enough for me. We've broken some decent structure here, as well as having just taken out liquidity from the upside here, which we love sweeping liquidity before heading downwards. And once you've entered, once again, let's say break of candle entry, you could just target liquidity or wherever, and that's a news candle. Wow, that's a big news candle. But yeah, it works. So anyway, I hope this helped somebody. Message me on Instagram if you've got any questions, or on Discord, or just in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. I haven't got no fee behind it, you feel me? The Discord's free if you want to join. But yeah, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, like the video, join the Discord, all those random things, and Merry Christmas. Go enjoy some time with your family, and I'll see you in the next video. So, peace.